Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com.
Well, a happy Festivus to you. It is time for our annual tradition on This Week in Google. We bring together your selections for the best of 2013. During this year, we've had an amazing show with Jeff Jarvis and Gina Trapani and many visitors. It is, oh, my outfit, you like? This is a Google Slanket and the traditional Festivus headgear. We've got the poll. The airing of grievances a little later on. But I thought we'd kick things off with Gina Trapani and her resolution for the new year. Take a look.
I ordered a DIY make your own cheese kit, like make your own mozzarella cheese kit. Right now, I should preface this by saying that I'm not really I can function in the kitchen. I can make coffee and I can make toast and I could put together a dinner, but I'm not exactly a cook. Well, my wife saw this and she just went. She just sighed. I was like, come on, it's like make your own mozzarella at home. Come on.
This is on Amazon, right? It's $23 on Amazon.
Oh, the
mozzarella. Is that the one you got?
No, it's a Kickstarter. It's a Kickstarter campaign.
It's a
Kickstarter cheese making kit. Let me see if I can find it. It's probably on my profile.
Yeah, that's hysterical. Well, I could just probably search for cheese making kit Kickstarter and find.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Make Cheese Incorporated. Let's make cheese.
Exactly. That's it. That's
in
the
your
one.
own kitchen.
So.
And guess what? They've raised $39,000.
Wow. Raised almost $40,000.
I can send you some buttermilk and some lemon and some cheesecloth. And
did you get your kit?
I haven't gotten the kit yet. I got they sent a holiday card saying hey, it's coming. I think the mozzarella one ships in March.
I know what sold you. Look at this mozzarella making party. That's what sold you on it.
This is the thing. Come on, my mom's gonna be so impressed.
Turn around to eBay right now and put it up there and say that you can order the first cheese making kits.
Did you pledge enough to get the mascarpone included?
I didn't. just straight mozzarella.
But it does make 30 batches of mozzarella, so it's quite economical.
Wow. 30 batches. I'm so excited. My wife was seriously, she was just like, you were never going to do this. I'm like, I am so going to do this.
I'll come over. Let's have a cheese pulling party.
Maybe on New Year's, I'll make cheese.
Oh.
In studio.
Yeah. That's a good segment. And now, as we approach New Year's in Ghana, Gina Trapani will join us to show us how to make cheese.
Here's some Saligney balls.
And I think you it's like taffy, right? Mozzarella, you got to stretch it.
Yeah. It just looks, I've never done it. I'm a bad Italian. It's about time. Come on.
I want it.
That's funny.
Sorry for the.
You really think all Italians make cheese?
No, they go buy it. They have a cheese person.
I used to make pasta till I realized you could just go buy it.
My name's Ella. And
Ella's a cheese maker from Calgary. That's cool. You know what? This is what Kickstarter's all about. We did talk about Google Reader shutting down. There have been petitions, hundreds of thousands of signatures. That's not going to change anything.
No, Leo, what did you think? I know Jeff was pretty upset about it. I saw Jeff ranting. I was imagining the bumper of Jeff ranting on Twitter saying,
did they close Reader after the show? So we haven't talked about it.
They did. We have not.
Oh.
They closed it right after the show. I think it was a Friday, one of these Friday news drops.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of buried in one of their spring cleaning bullet point lists.
Did we talk about Andy Rubin?
It was buried in the Pope.
We did.
Okay.
Did talk about it. Andy Rubin.
I'm so confused. So Andy Rubin was first, and then they killed Google Reader.
And then they killed Reader. Yep.
So 500,000 people signed up for Feedly. I signed up for Feedly. It is not a Google Reader replacement. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's too pretty. Here it did.
Why not?
It did import all my Google Reader content, and so the one that I often do is Tech News, And so this is kind of Google Reader-like.
This looks very readery.
Yeah, I guess it is.
There's Old Reader. That's the one that looks like Reader. TheOldReader.com.
Who's theoldreader.com?
Oh, the Old Reader, yeah.
This was made a while back when Google broke sharing. It said, "Oh, you've got to share on Plus, but it doesn't actually work." The Old Reader said, "Well, we can recreate that." So if you go there and import your subscription, it has the sharey stuff that
funny
that Reader used to have.
Now, can they scale up to accommodate all the unloved Google Reader users?
That's the question.
Because there is some server side, quite a bit of server. Is there not, Kevin? What's involved? What is the cost of running a Reader service?
Well, so the challenge is the crawling. And the reason that Reader sort of took over and became the central sync point for everyone, it was because Google does it as a side effect of their main web crawl, which means that they're crawling the entire web all the time anyway. They've got very good at knowing when things changed, and so that is a lot easier than the classic feed updating problem. So the feed updating problem is the point of a feed is it gives you a list of the articles and you know when they've changed, but you still have to check the feed. And so you have to go and check the feed every so often to see when it's updated. And the way we used to do that was we had ping servers, so-called. There was several of them. Dave Weiner ran one. We ran one at Technorati. There was a couple of others.
I remember that, yeah.
And you would put the URLs of those into your blogging software, and it would poke that and say, I've just updated. The problem with those became that spammers would just ping them all the time. So by the time Dave Weiner sold the Weblogs one to VeriSign, it was like 95% spam. Because I was at Technorati at the time. We would read all the fire hoses from these ping servers and then run them through spam filters and decide which ones to make sense. And it was very hard to get utility out of that. So that there was a spam problem with those. So and then we were trying to build protocols for sharing stuff, basically a sort of big shared ping server thing. There's one that's plugged into WordPress that I've forgotten the name of that does a fairly good job of this. And then there are also the big blogging platforms have their recently updated pages or feeds that you can plug into. There are 2 or 3 ways of doing that as well. You
can also do it client side, can't you, with like a client app like NetNewsWire?
You can do it with a client app. Yeah, that was the other way of doing it. But the challenge of that is that you've then got lots of client apps hitting your blog all the time. So you've got a popular blog. And you've got 100,000 readers. You're getting 100,000 people crawling you all the time.
So it's a hardship on the blog.
So it's a hardship on the blog, and it's a hardship on your phone if it's polling everything all the time like that too. So there's value in doing it as a cloud side, server side thing in the cloud. There's also value in amortizing that crawl across lots of users, which Google was effectively doing. And also because they're crawling the whole web anyway, they were very good at telling when something had actually changed. It's quite hard to work out what's really going on because time zones, people have their clock set wrong, and people change something and suddenly their entire feed gets republished and a whole bunch of stuff like that happens. Yeah. So when I was doing the Technorati crawl, there was it was like, oh, look, this thing's in the future. Was a common problem.
It's a very common problem, yeah.
You can trust the time, the time you crawled it, but you don't know the time they published it.
Right.
And Google's crawl is big enough and comprehensive enough and not blocked by anyone, so they were very good at crawling everything. So that they effectively displaced the entire infrastructure there because they would let you tap into it. And it wasn't a formal API. It's a sort of undocumented backend that lots of people use, and the team informally connected with them, but they never went through the official Google API process to put it out there, which means it's not going through the official deprecation process where they say when they'll turn it off. It's just going to vanish when they turn the product off.
It seems like Google should keep this going, if only as a public service, right?
That would be nice.
Not for even for people who use Reader, but because it's doing this crawling anyway. It could really offload blogs.
Yeah. So there's a group that was formed called Open Access Coalition, which is semi-related to this, that Kevin Burton of Spinner and what's his face?
What's his face does so much these days. He's really too busy. I think he should stop doing so many things. Seems like he's doing almost everything nowadays, especially.
So wait, do you think you should keep the product? You think they should keep the entire product running as a public service, or just the unofficial API? I mean, since the API was totally unofficial, I don't know.
Greg Kidd of 3Taps. So they've put this Open Access Coalition.org to fight for the ability for people to write web crawlers. And this is an important issue. That at the reason Google exists is because you can crawl the web and download the stuff and make sense of it, and people don't restrict that. Anil wrote about this week as well, about we should have weird user agents, because the user agent is the client-side app you use to connect to the web and make sense of it. And a lot of sites are now saying we will only let you connect to us if you're one of these known browsers. Facebook does that now. You can no longer
really.
If you try and curl a Facebook URL, it'll say you don't have a recognized browser.
Wow.
So this crawlability has been reduced. Also, you put a lot of stuff in their robots.txt that says only the Googlebot can crawl me,
right? Which
is tricky if you're Bleco, or if you're Bing or somebody else trying to crawl them.
Right.
So yeah, there is a problem here. Now there are some other crawlers out there. There's obviously Bing. If Bing wanted to steal a march on Google, say we're now the open company as Google's the closed company, they can say we'll provide this API for people, what feeds have been updated and which ones have changed, API for people as part of our crawl, and it would probably help their crawl as well, because they would get, then people will be motivated to plug things into them.
Open up.
Yeah, so I can see that if someone in the Microsoft side is thinking about it,
huge opportunity for Microsoft. They're already crawling the web.
They're already doing it. So it's just like you just write a MapReduce that feeds this stuff out to the site, which is all that happened at Google. The reason that Reader could be built by 3 guys at Google was because they could use the existing crawl.
Microsoft, there's a guy right here who knows how to do that. He'll write you a MapReduce, no problem.
I'm just saying I write my MapReduce.
He's probably done it a few times already. He just take an old one.
So then the other thing there's this group called Common Crawl, commoncrawl.org, which is a crawler that dumps its data into an Amazon thing, and then you can run scripts against it. So that's an interesting project. I know I've seen Pete Warden has done some interesting stuff with that. So the idea of that is it's supposed to be web crawl data that could be used to make sense of this. So there's that. The other piece of this that could be valuable is PubSub Hubbub, if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
So PubSub Hubbub is designed for this problem of what's updated when. And the idea is you have a PubSub Hubbub server, and you publish your stuff to that, and people who want it subscribe to that server and say, call me when it's updated. And there's a verification protocol to check that they are who they say they are, and the callback URL works. So then you post your thing to there, and then it does the fan out of that to lots of all the people who subscribed. And those are chainable, so you could actually build PubSub Hubbub networks. So that's still there. That was actually part of the Reader infrastructure. There's one that's hosted by Google that Brett Slatkin built that's still running, and that Feeder was plugged into. I hope they'll keep that up as well. So there's what's kind of happening is that somebody called it the breakup of the Soviet Union. It's like all this stuff, all these like old battles that were frozen when this thing take over are coming back again now. So we're going to have an interesting discussion in protocol space for the next few weeks as we try and put these together. So I'm, in some ways it's annoying that Google have done this. It's very annoying that Google never did a proper API for it in the first place. And we've got this sort of weird reverse engineered thing. But we may be able to build something interesting and open out of this. That's my hope from a big chunk of this.
So to be clear, the fact that Feedly and I presume others, I'm looking at BazQux, BAZQUX.com, that imports your OPML and gives you a very kind of Google Reader-like interface. And you mentioned the old Reader. The fact that these companies do this isn't really a solution. You don't want 1 million of these going around. What you really want is a centralized repository.
Well, no, I mean, you want, but it depends how they're doing it. What you really want is to define a good API between the cache of all that's changed and the client-side app. And at the moment, there's an API that was designed by a bunch of guys at Google for their particular purposes and is being used by other apps for that. It would make sense to spend a bit of time, converging that together and saying what is the good, API between that. So that may be a conversation that's going on. But the other part is, we've had the other thing is that a lot of this infrastructure is creaky as anything. The feeds are messy things. Most of them are invalid. And you have to have a lot of there's a lot of if you look at the universal feed parser, which is the best feed parser that I know about, it has something like 3,500 test cases that it runs to, and most of them are bad feeds and how to deal with them, and they grew from finding bad feeds. Mark Pilgrim spent a big chunk of time getting that right, and a lot of us fed stuff into that. So the assumption that feeds are these beautiful things that work is actually there's most of them are broken, and there's a lot of fudging that sticks them together.
It's really a shame. I mean, Google was doing the crawling. Google had the code. Wasn't much to maintain it. I at first thought, oh, this is a great opportunity for companies like Feedly. Black Pixel, which owns NetNewsWire, says, hey, good news. We're working on new versions for the Mac, the iPhone, and the iPad. That was a great news reader on the Mac side. So right. An opportunity for them, but really not really the ideal long-term solution.
Well, the challenge is who's using this. The reason this is shut down is because this is those of us who were the text-heavy web.
I'm not sure that's the case. I have to think it has more to do with Google pushing Google Plus than it does with the lack of use of the Google Reader. Same reason they took out Share.
They haven't had that many, it's never had that many users, but it's had lots of usage, if you see what I mean.
Right.
The people who use it intensively.
Right.
But it is those of us who read long-form text, and that is, we're a small minority of the web these days. So the question is, do we preserve this sort of long-form text parallel infrastructure, or do we try and merge it with the Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest flow of millions of updates that are built on sort of similar ideas, but with a very different sort of cadence of update?
Dave Weiner himself said when he heard about this, well, the inbox model is kind of out of date. The News River model makes more sense. That Twitter.
Totally agree with him.
Yeah.
On that.
I've had a reader configured to be a River for a while. I mean, you can turn off the unread counts, and that makes it much less inboxy.
Yeah.
And then you can decide which, you can pick what it is. It's a sort of series of rivers. You can put them in folders, and then you can get a river for each folder. And that's the piece that's that I find useful. I end up with like one main one that I look at most of the time, and I have some other ones that I'll check now and then.
Yeah.
And if you look, Facebook has just made their redesigned thing is kind of that. They've got tabs that you switch between to see different rivers in there, and obviously the Twitter, the various Twitter clients that give you columns that I think that are now mostly owned by Twitter have that sort of worldview as well. So there is some. I agree that the river is right, and that when we are converging on that view, but there is value in having these rarely updated ones that you look at as well.
Dave says in a conversation with Max Levchin on Twitter, he says, so it looks like there are three possible outcomes. This is Dave Weiner, one of the instrumental guys in RSS. He says Google Reader's demise, Google Reader's demise is also the end of RSS, he says, which seems to me is Google's desired outcome based on other things they've done. 2, as market develops, or a market develops, but we're unable to get the new features into it that simplify the subscription process so it has a chance, like Twitter. Or 3, a new dominant reader comes about, and if they're good, then maybe something good happens. He says, I don't think there's the slightest possibility of that. Number 3 happening. People in tech are too insular. They don't study prior art or even study their competition enough to know where the problems are, much less where the potential solutions are. You think more likely a mix between 1 and 2, a continued decline for RSS, and more reliance on big companies that couldn't care less, like Twitter. That's depressing. I know. Right. Yeah, that's a depressing outcome.
Well, that's the thing, Dave Weiner's blocked me on Twitter, so I can't read what he's tweeting, but I can still read his blog.
Good old Dave.
So there is a difference of I still So you retweet sometimes, but there is a difference. There is the difference between the centralization and the decentralized thing, and he's right. The stuff he built was decentralized. It meant lots of us could build on it.
Right.
Again, Anita and I were reminiscing about this, but we were able to build these parallel things that had an interop layer, and it was a not beautiful interop layer, but it worked. We could glue it together. And the difficulty is that lots of the things that were built since were effectively blogging within one company. So if you looked at, even Delicious was like, oh, it's a link blog, except that the tags bridge across Delicious. Isn't that nice? We've got a link there. Tumblr is exactly that. Tumblr is a blog with an update system that feeds inside itself, so that you can repost things and they stay within Tumblr. And and obviously, Twitter and Medium and the other things that are like this have those same characteristics, which is it's very easy for them to interrupt with themselves, and it gets harder and harder for them to interrupt with each other. And one of the nice things about 10 years ago in blogging was that we had multiple mature clients that actually behave fairly well with each other, but publishing things and reading things, and that is the piece that's sort of been damaged by the centralization stuff. And maybe this is a chance for us to try and rebuild that. But I spent a chunk of time trying to do this with OpenSocial, trying to make these feeds interoperate, and it's hard.
It is a hard.
It's hard. It's hard to get companies to realize it's in their interest to do this, especially when they've got a large user base and they've got they like the ability to shut people down. Facebook did it again this week. Somebody started building a successful messaging thing, and they said, "Oh, we're shutting you down, bye."
Yeah,
they like that ability, and to some extent, you need the ability to shut down spammers. We did have a spam problem with blogs. There was a time when Blogger itself was a giant spam factory because it was very easy to set up scripts to generate blogs and post there and feed them into the rest of the infrastructure, and it took a while for Google to realize that and clean that out. So there's there are problems with this and how you plug this together. It is hard to maintain who gets to talk to whom with this, but we've come up with models. The following model, and the subscription model actually does make some sense, and we've seen that idea spreading out into other places. The challenge is, as Dave was saying in that post you quoted, making that work in a way that bridges between the systems is the valuable piece, and the piece that we need to spend some time doing an interop on.
Let you choose how you want to see. He also points out, he says, I never use Google Reader. I didn't trust Google, and he says, and make sure if you're going to support something like this that it has a business model that you're paying for it, so that there's some incentive for them to keep running it. Well, I hope you're enjoying this best of This Week in Google. We'll be back next Wednesday with a This Week in Google. I'll be exhausted because it's going to be New Year's Day. We are doing a show on New Year's Day, Chad. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Holy cow. Well, I'll be exhausted because I'll have been up all night. I hope you're going to stop by for our New Year's Eve party. Meanwhile, we're looking back at the best of 2013 and a little battle over something Google liked to call the Chromebook watch. Hello? So I sent the Pixel back. I canceled my Pixel order, and Jeff says I'm wrong.
Well, I have a video showing
I should show
how
that.
the Verge pops up on my Pixel.
And scrolls quite responsively.
It scrolls just dandy. Gina
I'm just
tried to tell
enjoying
you it was your machine.
I'm just going to enjoy this going back and forth.
If there were more pixels, I could go see if there's get a tiebreaker, but I don't. The next time I see somebody with a Pixel.
Well, at
There,
Google
boom,
I/O you will
boom. Look at that. There it goes. Big
Well,
thumb.
you're moving.
moves
I
it
might
up.
say you moved very genteelly into that.
Oh, jeez.
Oh. No,
You
this
must have
is
been a real
clearly-
pain in the ass on a playground argument.
My only point
clearly
is that,
better
I don't care how the Verge scrolls. My only point was that for
It
that
did
price.
last week.
No, for that. Well, I was using it as an example. For that price, it should be a much faster, more responsive computer. It is not particularly
I find it
responsive.
very fast. Very fast. And it works just dandy for me.
After
Mine
using it for a
ships-
couple of days, I felt like, God, this is frustrating because it's just kind of not responsive. It feels a little jerky, a little.
Well, I get it, but you got the wrong machine. That's what I'm telling you. You last week, your entire complaint was the Verge went up slowly, and it did on the video. And so I was.
Do you have your Pixel? Oh, you can't do it because you're in Skype.
I can't do it, right?
Yeah.
But I did it as soon as I got home. I said, I'm going to record this for Leo. I sit down. I go to the Verge. Boom.
But you didn't have it full screen, so you weren't really testing it.
Oh, jeez.
Well, no, that's germane, because what you want to do is fill the screen, fill the pixels. The point is that my point was that the graphics card in that is insufficient for the number of pixels on the screen, which is true. But if you're not going to see that if you have a window, you have to go full screen on the Verge.
I don't want to be your roommate in the old folks' home.
No.
I think we should just have a pixel throwdown at Google I/O. We'll get those sumo wrestler bouncy suits, and you guys can just kind of go at it in the middle of Moscone.
Well, I stand by my review. It was not a broken pixel. It's a lot of pixels to push. It's not at all surprising with Intel motherboard HD 4000 graphics that is too many pixels to push. You won't know until you put a very demanding full screen web page on there, but you will see it in day-to-day operations because it's a very high-res screen. Now, that's the advantage of it.
I've been using it for 3 weeks now, and I'm telling you, I don't.
You're a perfect person to own the Pixel then, because you don't notice the difference.
Vance McAllister wrote a wonderful post on Google+. He wrote it actually as a comment on my post under that video.
Right, and I read that,
Yeah, the Leo video.
Yeah.
And I asked him to make it a whole post so we can put it up there. It's very, very good. And he explores why this is so polarizing.
Well, guys, I'll tell you why. You guys have Stockholm Syndrome. You wasted your money on that, and now you have to justify why it's a good purchase.
No, I haven't received it yet. I'm still using the loaner machine.
It's not too late to cancel. Wait a minute. Actually, it is.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
No, well.
Right. I was thrilled when I canceled it, was able to do so. Look, there are some real advantages. I won't deny it to Chrome OS. It's secure. If you're content to just run a browser and to do your email in the browser and everything in the browser, it's fine.
That's what I do.
But
I was thinking today,
it's an awful lot of money to pay for such a constrained machine when you could pay less for a full machine.
I can fully see that's the thing. That's what Vance was saying. That there's this belief that the machines the way they were is the machines the way they should be, and that there's this belief that it's somehow limited. I'm on the web. The web works fine. And I was thinking today.
Well, Jeff, I have to point out that you did install Linux on that, and you had to run Skype, which you're using right now.
For you only because of Microsoft. That's the only reason. And if you guys would get your act together and get WebRTC or Google Hangout, we'd be fine. Which everybody says, why the heck isn't this show on Google Hangout?
Because it looks terrible.
Just say it.
Because it looks terrible. We could use Google Hangout, but it looks terrible. And it sounds worse.
I cannot remember.
So some people don't. So my point is, some people, it's like you telling me, I love Chef Boyardee. That's fine. Eat Chef Boyardee. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it isn't necessarily great food.
Yeah, well, I like Armani suits, but I can tell you don't.
No, I don't.
Based on what you're wearing today.
I'm wearing, in fact, Lisa's going to kill me because it's a Tennessee Titans shirt. Graduate professor.
I love you anyway, Jarvis.
Jeff, I love you anyway. You're gonna keep this up, huh? We're gonna have a feud.
Wait. Just before the show, you're insulting my Chromebook again. You won't let it go.
It's my fault. Oh, now it's my fault.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Jeff is also professor of journalism at City
University. They're saying, "Oh no, they're at it again."
No. Professor of journalism at.
Or as Gina would say.
You weren't really doing that. Were you doing that?
Apparently, at one point I was. Yeah.
Hey, look, there's another person here. Also with us, Lamar Wilson, YouTuber Lamar Wilson, the host of our show This Week in YouTube every Sunday on the Twit Network.
How are you? Good to be here.
Nice to have you. He's also, of course, on YouTube, Lamar Wilson. Hey, I got a YouTube story. We'll lead off with a YouTube story. You know our show This Week in YouTube? Blocked on YouTube.
Oh, no.
What?
We got blocked already?
Well, not the show, but
the whole damn show.
The latest episode.
Well, there's only one, dude. This is the first episode.
Well, Zero's still on there, but yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, there is an episode 0.
Episode 0 survived.
So is it is it TWIYT on YouTube? YouTube.com/TW.
It's This Week YT.
This Week YT.
This Week YT. We're theorizing that maybe we don't get as much slack on this because we're a new YouTube channel.
I bet that's what it is. That's why we have a contact at Google. We need to push this probably to him because I think that's what it is. It's a new account, and a lot of spam accounts come up new, and they start putting up illegal content right away.
Right.
So they're probably treating us no differently.
That's what I would guess. I would hope.
Yeah.
Because so what the weird thing is, it was one of those automatic content things, and it was by Psy. Remember, Psy was very famous in his first video, Oppo Gangnam Style, that he let everybody do anything they wanted with it. I don't know if they issued takedowns, but it was very free, and Psy was
never did.
No takedowns. Well, boom, he's got a no song now. I guess he's a big shot, doesn't need anybody. We played just a few, maybe 15, 20 seconds of his new video, right? And talked a little bit about it, and how hard it might be to do it.
It wasn't even the whole thing.
No.
Which by the way, sucks.
But here's the interesting thing. Now, Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but he said they say the automatic content filter detected it as a live performance of that song.
Yeah, the live performance of Psy's the new song. I don't even know what the.
So we appealed it. They did have the appeal process, and they said no.
Well, no, they said sure, but it's going to take us. It could take us up to a month to get to it, which for a new show is a big deal.
That's episode.
We can make that go faster. That's ridiculous.
Well, we're gonna pull in all our chits with people like you, and
you know what I think you should do. You should go back and edit it, and you should just have a black screen that says "Psy is a jerk" during that time.
That's a great idea, Jeff, and we did that. Except now that our account is no longer in good standing, we can only upload videos less than 15 minutes long.
We'll have to have a mini show.
Googlers, YouTubers.
No, I have a guy. We'll take care of it.
We're theorizing that because it's fair. First of all, it's fair use. We didn't play the whole song. It's a news show. It's commentary, and normally we can make that appeal because we get knocked down all the time on all of our channels.
But there's so many shows to do. What's Trending does this. I mean, that's the basis of their show is to put other people's videos in there. And they get away with it. So
yeah, but Shira's a lot better looking than I am, and I think this
is accurate.
So no, but let me show you. I just got an email from YouTube. It happens all the time. This is I don't even know what show this is. This might be a Twit episode. They just blocked it. This video contains content from a Brazilian radio and TV. It doesn't, by the way, from either of these, and a Hungarian television station. One or more of whom have blocked it. They pulled this video down, even though there is, I guarantee you, no Brazilian or Hungarian content at all.
There have to be penalties for these bad takedowns.
This happens so much. We need some sort of slap shield law or something.
And from an article I think we saw, and we talked about maybe 2 weeks ago. I have to dig it up. This may actually get worse with some new rules. Remember, we talked about this. Universal got in.
UMG, yeah.
UMG. And so there might not be any appeal process. That's something you actually brought to light the episode before.
Well, I think you should be. I think you should threaten Psy and these scumbags with suits.
Counter suits.
Yeah, sue them. They're clearly losing you business. There's tangible damage to you. I think that's going to turn this around a bit, and Google finds itself in the middle of those things. They don't want that.
No, and like I said, we have a rep that reached out to us. They like the show. They've blessed the show. They don't have a
problem
with YouTube in the name, and so that's the guy I said I was going to reach out to because
good. He asked. He said, if you have any trouble, let me know. Hey, guess what?
We have trouble.
We've got trouble.
And so I'm not going to whine about this, but what it does raise is this larger issue. If YouTube wants, how do they balance this? I mean, I remember when YouTube started before Google bought it. We were talking to the founders of, I think it was Jeffrey Chen we were talking to, one of the founders of YouTube, and I asked him that question. This was the 6-month-old startup. Aren't you going to get sued out of existence? And he didn't have really a very good. He said no, but he didn't have a very good answer. I think he was already negotiating with Google. I have to think that. This was the best way to save this company is to pair up with Google. Google's response is, no, we're going to use the safe harbor provisions of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. We're going to offer DMC takedowns, and content providers will have a good recourse. But now it's swung so far in the opposite direction that independent content creators like me, and I'm sure others, right, Lamar, are getting hurt by this.
Yeah, it's so many people that are getting hit by this, and some, like, again, journalists like yourself, or just people who are innocently just trying to create good content or commentary are getting hit unfairly. And again, there may be no appeal process in the future. And I think on one hand, on a business side, they feel like they have to do this to keep everybody happy. That's on the business side, but it hurts content creators like us, obviously. And so I don't see a way out of this unless we do what Jeff said in some type of legal action.
I can't. I can't go around
lawyers.
suing Hungarian television and Brazilian radio. I'm not gonna. I'm not litigious. I think you're right, Jeff. That would be a good thing to do. But,
I think there's an opportunity here for the likes of an EFF to give cover to a Google to say that there's a real tangible business damage that's being caused here. And we can't just willy-nilly take this. And it forces Google to say that if you issue 3 bad takedown notices in a row, you're out for a month. Let's penalize them.
So there's a couple of things that come to mind. First of all, I think, and I've mentioned this before, that people are gaming it. I don't think either this Brazilian or Hungarian. Now, normally what I would say is they wouldn't do a takedown. They'd want to have ads placed on our content and make a little money off it. So a takedown, I don't understand the benefit of that. But it's obviously an erroneous takedown. But the second point...
because the ad ran on that channel, and so they're matching.
No,
I mean the video that you featured also ran on this.
No, on Hungarian. Well, I hope not on Hungarian radio. And
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they did some commentary. I mean, maybe kind of a similar thing, right?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. And then the bot sort of erroneously picked up, made the match for unrelated content. I don't know. I'm trying to imagine, how this happened. But anyway, so go ahead, Leo. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So that's one issue, and that both those videos are down. In fact, our channel, our This Week in YouTube channel, is down now, because we can't upload content to it more than longer than 15 minutes. But then there's the second issue, which somebody in the chat room pointed out. What this does do is push independent people like Lamar and others to go work for these YouTube partner channels, because the YouTube partner channels have the clout and to protect you.
Which is interesting, because I feel like that's what YouTube wants to happen. At first, I wonder why YouTube allowed these networks to exist in the beginning. But YouTube is still going to they still take their, 45% cut no matter what. So they don't care if a network comes in and wants to cut you out some more. It takes the pressure off them to have to offer technical support, to have to offer any kind of support. They can say, hey, you talk to your network, and then they'll have a rep who will handle the whole network. So I think that's where they're moving to, where they're hands off. It's like, hey, Universal made a deal with Maker or whoever it is. That's their business. You deal with them.
And I think that's just the wrong direction, because I think the whole beauty of YouTube is the democratizing nature of it that gives anybody, a kid in Hungary who wants to do a chance to do a show and get global distribution. But if he's at a major disadvantage because big companies can stomp on him, I don't think that,
What proportion of your views comes on YouTube?
It's not hugely significant. That one that they pulled down had about 5,000 views. But This Week in YouTube is going to be a little more significant. It's a show about YouTube, and not being able to post those shows on YouTube hurts us pretty badly. I think it also should make people question whether YouTube should be part of their distribution strategy. That the nice thing about YouTube is you get free bandwidth, but if you get pulled off all the time, this is not a good way for you to consider. Maybe you should look at Vimeo or somebody else. That's going to hurt you. I think that hurts YouTube.
Yeah, I think it does.
It'll be interesting to see what they say when you speak to your contact. It sounds like you need to talk to a human.
Yeah, I've emailed him already, so he'll get back to us.
I have a Python script that can interact with them beautifully, and I've been writing it. I'm just looking if there's anything else.
There's an amazing. Have you seen The Kid's Guide to the Internet, Leo?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you must. It's under Other. It's
Others where all the best stuff is.
Part of it.
All right.
This was made. I thought this had to be a joke. Lauren Weinstein said no, it's not, because he looked at all the stuff. It's pretty amazing.
It's old though, right? This is not.
It's
new.
old. It's 90s.
Adjust the VCR tracking for clearest picture. That might be a giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a hack.
That's a bad sign.
If it is, man, it just took a lot of work.
Hometown Television presents. Well, I just want to see the beginning. I always like to. I wonder. I might have worked on this. I don't know.
You could have been Dad.
Yeah.
On the internet, cyberspace, set free. Hello, virtual reality.
Interactive appetite, searching for a website, a window to the world, got to get online.
Come on, Kevin, dance. With techno set, you're going surfing on the internet.
Yeah. I've done shows like this. I got to tell you.
Is that the
Hey
prisoner
there,
font?
it's us again. This is my brother Peter. Mom
I mean, hey, wait a minute. Have we met you before? Hey there, it's us again? Huh? Okay.
We're the Millers.
By the way, she's 48 now. And, okay.
It's Andrew and Lisa, the
And the
basics
internet
of
ruined
the
her
internet.
life.
And
Yeah.
we thought you might want to come along.
She had a little bit of a drinking problem, but otherwise,
Background. When we installed internet access on our computer, I got the whole family involved.
It's true. Everybody had their own tasks to do.
It was a lot of work, but it was really worth it.
Now that I've gotten on the internet, I'd rather be on my computer than doing just about anything.
It's really cool.
well,
The internet gave us a whole world of
you know, there's naked ladies on it.
So I guess this is a story of how it changed our lives. Maybe it will yours too, with the kid's guide to the internet.
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
Who is this aimed at?
As Rich told you, we installed the internet on our computer just a short time ago.
I wonder
And
how
I
do you
haven't been
install
able
the
to-
He
internet?
installed the internet on our computer just a short time ago.
Oh, man.
And already is laden with viruses, spyware, and malware. And Dad's getting the Viagra spam every minute.
Play the typical computer games that all the kids enjoy, but their curiosity for learning has skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah.
Peter is constantly quoting sports.
Dad, I'd like to go into the room, my bedroom now, and learn some more on the internet, if you don't mind.
Anatomy is my favorite subject.
Surfing spots around the globe.
Not to mention the improvement in Peter's grades, and Dasha's too. Having the internet in our home has had a great impact on our lives. Rich keeps up with the stock market and our investments, and I'm able to pay the bills in half
He has
the
a
time it
few
used to
secret
take me.
cyber affairs on the side.
Dad's been very busy. He says he has an internet nickname, Carlos Danger. Look at the Netscape browser. I love the navigator.
The next thing you'll type will be specific, directing you to a particular website, like
MTV, a co-producer of this, by the
Or
way.
you can just surf the net using a search engine to help you locate information.
What search engine? Online MTV?
For instance, I used the World Wide Web to search the archives of the Smithsonian Museum a few weeks ago. I also had to do a homework assignment about the Wright brothers for a history assignment.
Can you show us what you found?
Sure.
Oh, that Smithsonian really does the state of the art, huh?
Oh, wow.
The sad thing is we all remember exactly when the internet looked just like that.
Street View.
Street View. By the way, I do believe you had to set up Windows to do that waving window cursor. That wasn't the default. That's the worst. It was an hourglass, right? You had to turn it into the waving, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
We just figured it out. Look, I'll show you.
All you have to do is go to playboy.com. Wow. This is
Study the
great.
anatomy of a
Isn't
frog
this
like we
amazing?
do.
Netscape, the color. Oh, remember the color wizard? I remember that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, all about rainbows. You know, seriously, I worked on shows very much like this. I did a show, a PBS show called The Internet. And it was pretty much this.
Does it exist, Leo? Have you shown it?
God, I
recently?
hope not.
Oh, please. Oh,
I hope
please.
it's long
we must
gone.
See it.
Bounty.
I don't have it.
bounty.
I
Somebody
certainly
needs
don't have a copy, but I bet you somebody in the chat room will find it and humiliate me in public. Oh, Lord. I remember Gina Smith did one where she was driving in a convertible down the information superhighway. I don't know if there was singing involved.
Look, there's Al Gore over there.
Look, there's my imaginary family. All right.
Leo, I think we finally found our replacement theme song for This Week in Google.
Hey, maybe, you know what? Let's listen to that. You know what? Can we use that, you think, with impunity?
Oh, I think
Do you think
so. They're all
Hometown
dead.
Productions
Whoever
would
wrote
mind?
that is dead.
We're riding on the internet, cyberspace set free. Hello, virtual reality.
Cyberspace. It says what we want it to say. Cyberspace sets us free.
Got the appetite, searching for a website, a window to the world, got to get online.
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
Can we just steal that and
Well, you'll find out who owns the rights when you post this on YouTube, won't you?
perfect. Get me on the internet. That was such a catchy song. I love that video. Now you know all about the internet and how it works. Hello, everybody. You're watching the best of This Week in Google. I'm Father Leo Laporte of the Church of the Red Hot Holy Peppers. How do you like that? We couldn't find my Santa hat. So this is this Google Slanket. I do have Santa on my shirt. And this is festive. All right. If you've watched the show all year long, you know that Jeff Jarvis is a little upset. He's upset all the time. But he was particularly upset about the fact that Verizon would not allow him to use his LTE-based Nexus 7 on their network. My mistake. I didn't know this, and I asked him about it. Hilarity ensued. Hey, speaking of which, did you get your Nexus 7 LTE version yet?
No! No! I want it. It's for sale every day. Every damn day I search for Nexus 7 LTE. Can't you tell me
Leo.
when we're going to get it? No, and now here's the latest indignity. It's for sale in Germany, the UK, France. I'm telling you, France gets it first. What the hell's wrong here?
How dare they?
The Frenchies.
Jeff, you have friends in Germany, though. Just get them to send you
No,
one.
because it's the different frequencies. You don't want the German version. You want the U.S. version.
Good point.
Nice job,
We
Leo.
don't get stuff all the time in Canada. I'm pretty used to it.
Right, you are. There's no point in getting a Canadian riled
yeah,
up.
See that's the nice Canadian thing. Oh, go ahead, screw us, and we'll apologize for it. And
Sure,
say thank you.
send it to
We're
us
not
a
like
couple
that
years
down
later.
here, Ingram.
You
want
get-
my Nexus
yeah, Matthew,
LTE.
you really have to adopt the American sense of entitlement if you're going to be on Twig.
That's right. Get with it. Where's my Chromecast?
I had this vision today that somebody with a sense of humor at Google would put it on for sale right now during the show, and I'd have to order it during the show.
I'll order it for you. I've gotten very good at talking and ordering crap at the same time.
It's a major life skill.
I can get stuff like that.
And this week I got some good news, I thought. I got my Nexus 7 LTE. I've been waiting for it for weeks. I've been waiting for it to go on sale. I finally got to order it last week. It didn't arrive before the show, and here it came on Friday. And I was so happy.
And all your
to
dreams came
open it
true,
up.
right, Jeff?
No!
Here we go. Watch out.
All your dreams came true, Jeff. You waited so long for this tablet to buy it, to get it. You have it now. This is it. This is what you've been hoping for. I know you're a picky guy. You have very high standards. You have very specific things that you want, and now it's in your hands. What's wrong?
How's that LTE working?
Yo, you're cruel. You're cruel. So, I am going psychotic on Verizon because Verizon will not hook up my Nexus LTE. Now, you remember when it was announced months ago, Google said it was going to work. The first device that was going to work on AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon on LTE. Wow, there was the slide. See, in coming weeks, Verizon, right there. And so I walk into the Verizon store on Saturday, and I say, hi, I want to give you more money. I want to add this to my shared data collection there, right? Well, one snotty little smart-ass clerk came over and said, you can't, it doesn't work, you can't. I said, no, you don't understand. I looked up things on them. I should look. Verizon LTE, this device. Yes. So I got a nice clerk, and I got a manager over as I glared at the other clerk. And they tried to put in the IMEI for this device. Bzzz, wouldn't take it. Bzzz, wouldn't take it. All around. So they said, well, maybe it's just not ready yet. I said, oh, they've had months. How ridiculous. But this happened with my Chromebook Pixel 2, where I went in and tried to get the deal, the $10 a month deal that they had, and it wasn't in a SKU in there. And I figured, okay, so they messed up big old Verizon. Well, they're not rich enough, but fine. I have them call Verizon HQ. They try to do something. They can't do it either. But I figure, okay, this is frustrating. I'm mad, but I leave calmly. I leave with a smile on my face. I say, thanks for your help, guys. I get back home, and of course, I go to Twitter, and I say, oh, VZW support. I need your help again. Can you get my device hooked up? Because I want to be a happy customer. I wait until days, and then I get this response. You can put it back up again, Chad. I'm excited you got your Nexus 7, but not all LTE tablets are created equal. It's not part of our lineup and can't be activated. I'm letting that sit there like the turd it is. So I have psychotic fits all around, and then people remind me that Verizon got the LTE spectrum, C block as it's called, or block C rather, in the 700 megahertz band, on the condition, which Google managed to push into the spectrum auction, the condition that it be open. And Chad, if you could go back to, and you see that first block quote, that it must be offered, no licensee, quote, licensees, quote, shall not deny, limit, or restrict the ability of their customers to use the devices and applications of their choice on the licensee's C block network, except insofar as there's technical problems or other regulations or statutes, right? No problem. Well, this is a device that has been approved by the FCC. This is an LTE device. It works on AT&T. It works on T-Mobile. And I have a SIM for T-Mobile, by the way, because it came with the device. Nice deal, 1 month free. Thank you very much. Everybody's saying, why don't you just hook up T-Mobile? Well, because, number one, I have a shared device account on Verizon, thanks to my Chromebook Pixel. Google, how could you have made this a Verizon-only device? My family has their iPads on Verizon. What can I do about that? And so it's going to cost me more if I use this on T-Mobile or something else. And plus, there's just the justice of it. The justice of it. By God, Verizon, you will connect my Nexus 7. So I go around. I'm about to end this here. I go around and around and around. I go a lot on Twitter. A lot of folks come in. Huge response on Google Plus and on Twitter to this. People saying, yeah, why don't you learn? Verizon sucks. Verizon's awful. Go to T-Mobile. T-Mobile's better. And I keep on saying, no, I'm going to force them into it. And then nice folks at Free Press sent me their complaints to the FCC more than a year ago. And last July, the FCC had a consent decree against Verizon for $1.25 million because Verizon at the time was forcing Google to take applications that had tethering out of the Play Store. That's not open. And so Verizon was told, you have to do this. And Verizon said, oh, yes, we will. And earlier when Google had complained about Verizon's behavior and sent a very tough letter, Verizon got back and said, oh, Google, how can you? You're just being catty. No. We're going to be open. Of course we're going to be open. Look at all the ways we're going to be open. I tried to find that full post, which had been quoted on Ars Technica, but of course Verizon has erased it. So this goes on and on and on, around and around and around. I then get another tweet from Verizon saying, once again, or the technical equivalent thereof. And so today I wrote and sent a formal complaint to the Federal Communications Commission Enforcement Division saying, go after them, bastards. And so I'm not going to rest. I am not going to rest until we bring Verizon to justice, because this was the whole point of the notion of openness, is that we have the choice. We have the control. And Verizon, take that.
Good for you, Jeff. Good for you. I love that you wrote a formal letter or complaint, because, you go back and forth on Twitter, but it's 2013 to hell.
Yeah. I want to rename it Del Hell to Tell Hell now. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's galling, and the attitude they have. So Verizon PR didn't respond to me for days, and then finally, after I posted it, they came back and they sent me a link to their certification requirements. But the problem is, if I go buy a phone here that's unlocked and on GSM, and I go to Europe, all I have to do is put a SIM in it, and it works. There's no certification. There's no this. There's no that. I've taken my Nexus 4 to Europe before it was sold there, and no problem. It just works. That's the point of having an open standard, which is what GSM and LTE are, as
exactly.
friends on Twitter have said.
That's exactly right, Jeff. I mean, these are protocols, right? I mean,
right.
All you have to say is, I adhere to the protocol, right? So I've enabled the chip in my device adheres to whatever the standard is, whatever the protocol is, and it should just work. That's why these things exist. That's the whole reason people do these things, come up with these protocols. And there should be no question about it, right? And I think that's why that's T-Mobile's whole value prop, right? Is bring your own device, just come and it should work, and use us, and don't worry about Verizon and all this crap that they send your way. The other thing is, I wonder how much of this is because they don't have crapware loaded on the Nexus 7, I mean, I wonder if they're trying to hold up to see if they can get.
Aaron, the second tweet I got from Verizon support when they said, no, it can't be activated, they said, here's a link to all the nice things we'll sell you instead of the thing that you brought. So that's consumer fraud. That's bait and switch. That's a big problem. And by the way, when they say it can't be activated, that is a bald-faced lie, Verizon, because I did take the SIM out of my Chromebook Pixel. I did put it into the Nexus 7 LTE, and guess what? Boom-o, it does work. So it's not a question of it can't work on the network. It's a question of Verizon won't let it work on the network. And this is Verizon's control.
It looks like Verizon posted a statement about this today. Virgil just posted it in the chat room. I put it under your rant on the rundown, Jeff. Statement on Verizon wireless device certification. The Google Nexus 7 is not yet a Verizon 4G LTE certified device, though it entered our process in August, and we expect it to be certified shortly. Once the device is certified, we will work with Google to enable the device to be activated on a 4G LTE network.
You see, that's such a bald-faced lie right there, because, again, it already works on the network. Because that's the standard, as Aaron just said. You can put it in there. The thing that Verizon won't do is give me a SIM and put it on my account. So there's no matter of certification here. That's horse poopy.
Yeah, they're saying that their testing protocol is the most rigorous of any carrier, and it's focused on guarding the safety and security of their network, done by third-party labs. It takes 4 to 6 weeks. Interesting. Plot thickens.
4 to 6 weeks. So what did you guys say about it on Android last night?
Oh, we were relishing the thought of your rant today. I was promoting Zwig because I said you get to hear about Jeff's LTE experience, and we pulled up your post on the show.
I thought I was rather reasonable. I kept a less than usual pink face. The whole matter, don't you think?
That was good. It was a good one. I love that you filed a formal complaint with the FCC, and I bet that this statement by Verizon, it looks like it was published today, the 18th. It doesn't have a time. Yes. It was absolutely prompted by that.
Did you guys look at the certification process that they
take a look at it? It's ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, so they have if you go to that link that you just put in there, Gina, and then click on and go down under the certification process. Go to that.
OpenNetwork.verizon.net, right?
And then under the little wrench there's certification process. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Yes.
View our certification process. So they've got 4 steps, right? Review, pre-certification, which is conditional. What does that mean? Then they've got certification, which they test rigorously in our labs, but they say they can test the device live over our network and see if it works. And then look at the last one. This is what I was getting at before. Go to market. Why do they need go to market in a technical certification? We build external and internal awareness of your device through joint public relations and the use of the Verizon certification logo, training our sales teams, and listing your device in the device showcase. So what they're saying is all of that stuff has to be done before it's technically certified. We have to train our sales teams and do all this stuff. I mean, that's a bunch. I understand 1, 2, and 3. I understand review, pre-certification, and certification. I don't understand why they need go to market to say that this is technically certified.
But it's been pointed out to a lot of people to me. If it's a CDMA device, which is what Verizon normally is, of course, then it has, as someone explained to me on Twitter, I'm sorry I can't give you credit because I can't remember your silly Twitter handle, that has root access to the device. It is a security matter. But as you said a few minutes ago, Aaron, this is a protocol. This is an open standard protocol. So I could go make a phone at my workbench, and as long as I do it to the standards and I put a SIM in, it's going to work. Verizon can't stop that. And that's the irony of all this. Verizon doesn't understand that they've entered an open world. This is the first time they've really worked. This is the first time they've faced, I think, an open GSM device on their network. And this was the condition. I can't repeat this often enough. This was the condition of them winning the auction to get the LTE 700 megahertz C block spectrum that they got. And remember that Google entered into that auction not to win, but to put the pressure on to have the assurance that open devices would work. Why? Because clearly Google saw this very day coming. And here's the day here. Now, mind you, there's another issue here. Google has been silent about this. I'm a little upset about that. I've emailed Google PR, but of course the problem is that Google, love them dearly, have a show about them, wrote a book about them. The one time they get in trouble is when they do deals with telcos. And they've done devil's deals with Verizon, and I'm sure they don't want to piss off Verizon too much, but what's happening here is Verizon and Google are tweaking each other, and we are stuck in the middle.
Yep. It puts the users in a pinch. Absolutely.
So
Well, can you could pop in the T-Mobile SIM and get your first free month. And in theory, if what Verizon is saying is true, which I know you don't think it is true, but while you wait for a response to your official complaint and while Verizon purportedly goes through its certification process, maybe by the time your free month is up, it'll work.
Yeah, and I've thought of doing that, but right now I'm trying to stay true to the principle of this. I'm just going to keep on forcing Verizon to do what they're supposed to do under the law. And other people have said, well, if you just take a SIM out of something else and put it in there, it works. Well, it's fine, but then my
then you don't have a SIM in your Pixel. Yeah.
Now they also the nice guy in the store said, well, the only workaround I can really do is I could try to get a SIM going in a phone and put it in there. But then the problem is that in the billing system, I'd be paying $40 a month instead of $10 a month for adding it.
Right.
So this is all about business conditions and Verizon control. It has nothing to do with technology, certification, any of that. AT&T and T-Mobile are not idiots. They have much experience with GSM, much more than Verizon. They are happily running this. Now, Google, by the way, when it came out with this device a week ago, they sold it with a T-Mobile SIM. That lasted about a week. And then they took it down for a day, or for part of a day, and everybody got suspicious. Then it went back up, and a bit later, they offer it now without a SIM, with the T-Mobile SIM, or with an AT&T SIM. But notice, not a Verizon SIM. So here I am. I'm trying to give Verizon business that Google is promoting to go to others. I'm trying to give them money. And the only thing that's happening here is in some freakish, horrible, anal control game that this corporation has to not let customers ever win anything. Verizon, the truly evil company, the company that hands over all your metadata, the company that, by the way, we found out this week from The Guardian, phone companies never even tried to protest handing all of our data over to the NSA. A Verizon executive this week also called Google and Microsoft and Yahoo and company grandstanders for fighting the NSA for our rights. This is a company that does not give a damn about us as customers. This is a company that still thinks it's Ma Bell and has a monopoly and can tell us to go below. Well, guess what, people? We've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got fax machines. Yeah, I had to fax it to the FCC, and we are not going to rest.
Good for you, Jeff.
Best of right there.
Yeah.
All right.
Right
so that's
there.
anything else to say about that rant? Anything in the brilliant in the chat room going?
Well, I think the only thing in the chat room that I noticed as you were talking is there is a, the only legal out they have from what you were saying is that there is a clause in there that says if a device could harm the network, then they can. So then that's their claim.
But they're going
right?
to then there's a burden of proof on that.
Yes.
There's a burden of proof to show it harms the network, and it's not harming AT&T. It's not harming T-Mobile. It's not harming GSM networks around the world, where of course it was available before it was available here, which was the subject of another rant. Why France had it and we didn't. Maybe I now understand why. Maybe this has been a behind-the-scenes thing. I don't know. I am eager for Google to say something about this in public. I've gone to their public policy people and to their PR people, and we'll see what comes out, and I'll report all of this.
Good for you. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, forget that T-Mobile SIM. Stick to the principle. Let's put the screws to them.
Yeah.
Have
All
you?
right.
Has anyone else? Have you found anyone else on Twitter or just sort of they're out and about complaining about the same thing? Have you been able to sort of get?
I've found people. I found a lot of people who did a few things. Some who just took a SIM from another device and before I did it showed to me that no, Jeff, this works, and they demonstrated it to me very quickly. So that
nice.
In fact, while I was in the Verizon store, I went to Twitter immediately while I was there, and I said, I'm having this problem. Anybody know anything? And immediately somebody came back and said, well, I just got the device. I took the SIM out of another device, put it in there. Oh, it works, Jeff. So I got to be able to say to Verizon, no, this works on your network. Here, look, here's the proof.
That's amazing.
That's the beauty of all this, which also, by the way, always comes back to the power of Leo, to the power of Twit, because I don't have those kind of followers there except for this wonderful show and network. So that works. A lot of people on Google Plus have been saying, I was thinking about getting put on Verizon. I'm not doing that now. And a surprising number of people, Gina. And this is a trend that I haven't seen. Leo's been talking about how, T-Mobile's pretty good. T-Mobile's good around here. Use T-Mobile. It's fine. And what was happening on Google Plus is the number of people who said, to heck with Verizon, not just because you have the SIM. T-Mobile's actually good. They have unlimited data plans. They care about people. I have a good customer service. It was like 90% in favor of T-Mobile in this whole discussion, 10% of T-Mobile complaints, where it's the opposite, where it's 95% complaining about Verizon and a few hangouts trying to defend Verizon.
So were people saying I'm just going to switch because I don't want to deal with these people at all? I'm going to switch to T-Mobile in general?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
And that's where, I mean, you got to follow the money, right? I mean, that's what's going to eventually get Verizon to take notice of this, is if people start leaving. I think that, thank goodness for Jeff and his reach, right? His virtual reach out through the ether, so to speak, to people. Because if it were just like a normal person that had this problem, I mean, no one's going to notice, right? So thank goodness Jeff's making it, because let's face it, I mean, how many customers are actually trying to do this? Probably not that many at this point, right? So it's not like someone pulled one of Verizon's key devices and says, hey, this doesn't work, and it affects, 80 million people, right? So this probably affects a small subset, and it's the small minority that doesn't have any voice, really. So thank goodness for Jeff. Thank goodness you're raising this up.
It's a very small concern. It's a very small audience for this. But yeah, there's some level of responsibility if you have this platform like Twig and the blogs and such, that rather than just surrendering, because some people said, just give up. And I said, no, I can't. I won't do that. So on we go. All right. I need a break. I need something happy. I need positive change in the world.
I wonder, has anybody ever used the Mayday button? Who uses that except lonely guys hoping that Jennifer will answer?
Well,
it's kind of like chat roulette for the Kindle. I'm so glad I'm not the CSR.
That's the thing.
I'm so glad I'm not a CSR.
It's the human Clippy.
It is the human Clippy. I think Kevin Rose did it and like screencast it just to see what it was like. He
did he?
Mayday and said, how do I get to settings? And it was a dude who looked nothing like Jennifer.
That's the problem. It's, by the way, her name is Amy. We've been corrected.
Amy, sorry.
Yeah, Kevin Rose Mayday. That's good.
I thought he tweeted it a while back.
He said it's amazing. Man, Mayday as a name is genius. I agree.
But if your product needs that tells you something.
Yeah, I'm sure they debated that. Should we? Yeah, see, he got a dude named Anthony. And Anthony is not sitting in a futuristic space. He's sitting in a call center, and you can see the ducting on the roof. It's not nearly so sexy.
A backcloth, wouldn't you?
Hey, Anthony. Yo, let's play the video. You want to watch?
All right, thank you so much. And how are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm just looking to get into the settings. Can you show me how to do that?
I'm going down from the time.
Yeah, I see that line.
Swipe down.
It's just like a regular tech support.
Great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Aw.
Aw.
It would be better if Kevin weren't looking at the latest issue of Men's Health magazine during the call, I must say.
I like to add a little flavor to that.
Aw. That's what you're going to get. Let's be honest. You're not getting Amy.
Notification sound, yes.
Amy is not working at Amazon's call center.
Kevin and Anthony sitting in a tree.
Aw.
Aw. Sorry.
Hope you're enjoying our best of This Week in Google. We'll be back next week with a fresh show with Jeff. And I think Gina will be back for, we've missed her all December. She should be back January 1. Meanwhile, we're looking back at some of the best of This Week in Google for 2013. Remember when Google had that crazy idea of internet with balloons? Let's take a look at Project Loon. Project Loon. On Sunday, we had Trey Ratcliffe on Twit because he was one of a couple of people. It was Stephen Levy of Wired and Trey Ratcliffe, who were invited to go up in the helicopter and watch the launch of the first Google Project Loon balloons. There they go up in the sky. These balloons, eventually Google hopes, this is a Project X plan, to provide 3G quality internet access to the entire globe from hundreds of these balloons floating 10 miles up in the stratosphere, well above the commercial aviation traffic. One of the advantages of being so high is they can tune these balloons. There's two chambers. There's a helium chamber and an air chamber. And they can tune these balloons remotely to make them go up or down to catch the particular jet stream flow to move these balloons to kind of keep them in position. And
Are there humans actually making them go up and down to catch the right airflow?
Ah, that's a good question. Or is it just
Gina,
autonomous?
Of course not. An algorithm does that.
Only if you
How
consider a
silly of you to
Python program a human.
Right. So there's a .py script. There's like fly.
There's a .py.
Are they pulling the signal from cell towers on the ground?
They're not cell towers specifically. They're towers designed to do this from cities.
I was going to say, if you let airline passengers know that balloons can do this, but they can't, man, they lose it.
It's going to destroy the navigation. We're going down.
Yeah.
Look at these are the pause that, Chad. Pause that. These are what you get. This red. It looks like a red Tootsie Pop antenna. This is what people in New Zealand who are the first beta testers of this will get. Somebody said it kind of looks like a place pin on Google Maps.
No, it does.
You think that's intentional?
3G level at best, I think, right?
Well, I don't know. Trey said he was really impressed. It was very fast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Trying to hold down expectations.
Yeah, I don't know. It is pretty far. I mean, 10 miles is a long way away, and the latency is going to be horrendous.
Every time I see photos of New Zealand, I always just want to move there.
Yeah, I want to be a hobbit when I see photos of New Zealand.
Yeah, but not
Christchurch. I mean, like the balloon test photos and the videos are just amazing looking.
It's very. What's interesting, and I don't know if it's intentional, it's very near Queenstown, where Trey lives. So he and his family drove over and got in the helicopter. He got in the helicopter and watched this. Made some great movies. You can catch those on stuckincustoms.com. Jeff Levy's writing articles for Wired about this as well.
Grr.
Better latency than a satellite. That's a good point. I mean, satellite has bad latency, but it won't be as bad as that.
I mean, the point of this is to get to remote areas that just simply can't be covered, and you have enough balloons up there. You can cover. If we can bring internet connectivity to huge swaths of the earth, imagine what happens when there's power there.
And nobody better to do this than Google. You wouldn't see. There's no extra governmental organization that's going to do this. No NGO.
Well, that's the other great thing. If they can put some servers up there, maybe we're safe from the NSA.
I think the NSA can even tap the stratosphere. However, this is Google's mandate. They've always said this. The more you use the internet, the more we make. They might charge for this, but I don't think this would be a business any more than Gigabit is a business for them.
This opens up entire new nations to business.
This is what they call the last mile problem, right?
Yeah, last 10 miles, yeah.
Last 10 miles.
There are 5 billion people who don't have internet access. So you're talking, about a significant increase in your market share.
Yeah.
And they're solar powered, which is really cool.
Yep. They are
when-
set up in such a way that they can take them down when they wear out.
They wear out. They take them down. They recycle the parts, which is cool. They have landing or collection areas, right? That they can steer them to, which is really
I wonder
neat.
how that has to be coordinated with air traffic control, though. That's what.
The up and down. Well, it's not that crowded up there.
Coming down to earth.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the Leo question, but when can I buy one?
The Kevin Purdy balloon. There they are going up in New Zealand. This is this a Trey Ratcliffe's video?
Yeah, this is one of Trey's videos. The one he was talking about with the technical demo still hasn't been approved yet, so it's not up yet.
Right.
But
he apparently was able to go to the staging Quonset hut and record a bunch of tech talks and whiteboard stuff. And he's hoping Google has to approve it before he can post it, but he's hoping to post it that would give us a lot of more tech information.
This is recorded using his Google Glass.
Yeah, pretty neat, huh?
Mm. Oh.
Pretty neat. I guess that's his son. I guess he did bring his kids.
Yeah.
Either that or he's scratching Stephen Levy's hair, which is a little weird.
No, Levy was on the right.
Oh, good.
That was his son.
Look at that. That's really amazing. These are more robust than weather balloons. They're pretty tough.
So is the solar stuff on the top of it, and that on the bottom is the transmission piece?
I don't know. We'll have to.
Well, if you look at this photo, it looks like that bottom piece has the top layer is solar
Oh, it
panel.
does. Okay, yes, there you go. Yep. The other neat thing about this is it's a mesh network.
Right.
Right? They connect with each other. The balloons
Right.
connect with each other to do things.
And you need that because most of them are not over these uplink facilities. Those are in major urban areas. So only one has to be up above an uplink. They uplink, and then it spreads it via mesh to all the other balloons. So that's pretty cool.
It's amazing that the 2013 solution to this looks a lot like what would probably be the 1913 solution.
I know. You know what? That's really out of the box thinking, and I love it. You know, I just think that's great. I am thrilled, and I think this might actually work. This is, by the way, not the first time people have talked about something like this. Even a few months ago, Google was saying we're going to do this in Africa. But I've heard of remember somebody was going to do an internet where it was planes that were always up in the air? This was quite a few years ago. That's too expensive, obviously.
Well, and then there were airships not long ago.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure why they don't use zeppelins to do this, but I guess this is the same thing, right?
They're lower
dirigibles.
Yeah,
little less.
They need
less
fuel.
Expensive.
That's why.
Isn't that cool?
It's really cool. What strikes me about it is that's a little weird is that it doesn't look very futuristic. I mean, they look like floating garbage bags. They're just really long, right? I mean, I would be like, oh.
And remember, Bill Gates
land in the ocean and choke some fish. You know.
Bill Gates spent $1 billion on Teledesic, which was designed to put low Earth orbit satellites up doing the same thing. But this is so much more economical. So smart.
That's great. Harmless science experiment. Is that what it says?
Yeah, that's if it crashes.
Harmless science experiment.
It's harm. Do not. It is not a bomb.
It is not from the NSA.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe it is. We laugh because we're scared shitless. You always joke about the thing that most worries you. But how do you like your glass? Still liking it?
I'm enjoying the laughs I get when I demonstrate it.
How about you, Gina? I don't see you wearing it.
I don't wear it when I'm sitting at my computer, but I do wear it when I go out on the weekends. In fact, I was just at San Diego Pride this past weekend, and I had them on. And actually, LaToya Jackson was there, random. She was one of the parade leaders, and so I snapped a quick picture of her, and she had a little entourage. She was in a golf cart, and there were all these cameras and stuff. But I generally I take it out. We went to the county fair. If I go for a walk, if we go down to the beach, I'll take pictures. But if I'm sitting in front of my computer, I don't have it on because
I don't have the nerve to
wear
it in New York City.
Oh, you'd get punched in the face, wouldn't you?
I think so.
It's a camera, though, right, Gina? I mean, it sounds like what you just described sound like a camera.
Yeah, I'm using it as a camera,
Yeah.
and here in San Diego it's really sunny, so I always have I often wear it with the sunglass piece, which makes the camera a little less conspicuous. Like people don't really notice it as much. I use it mostly as a camera. I use it for navigation, and I do enjoy getting text messages just kind of popped up in my face without having to check my phone. But that's basically what I use it for. And obviously I take tons of pictures of the baby and little short videos of the baby that grandma and grandma love.
I don't know if I said this last week, but I think it's three things. Three minutes in one. It's a camera. You can record your life, number one. Number two, it gives you alerts. And number three, it gives you instructions, including directions.
Yeah, somebody was walking, I think, was it Baratunde or somebody walking around New York and said this is a perfect use as a pedestrian.
Yeah, navigation as a pedestrian, definitely. And even driving. I mean, I don't recommend that you have the navigation on while you're driving, but there are times when I'll be in the passenger seat and have it on, or I'll look up something beforehand to get places. So nav is great, and the walking nav is particularly good because it knows which way you're facing, which is very, very useful, especially in a dense place like New York.
I found another fringe benefit to having it, which is up on the rundown. On the bottom thing on glass is that what I'm now dubbing glass selfies. Because I demonstrate them to other people, and then of course they want to put them on, and what do? They take pictures. What do they take pictures of?
Of you.
Me. So I have a whole huge.
That's kind of cool, actually.
28 pictures there of me.
I kind of like that. What a handsome fellow you are.
Yeah.
I am.
I kind of like
again,
that.
And again, me again, me.
Glass selfies. This is pretty funny, actually.
So I've heard of at least 2 or 3 publications who have asked me indirectly or through friends, how do we get a hold of a pair, some glass so we can send a writer out to do kind of stunt, like record people's reactions to it, or see how weird they look, kind of like doing the excuse me, but the glass, look at this glass hole piece, basically, which
means it's jumped the shark and it's over.
Yeah.
Time to move on. Seriously.
A little bit. It's a little sad.
It says local news is doing glass stories. It's over. It's all over.
I wish I put up the rundown. I don't think I did. Did I? Oh wait, I did. I did.
The NFL team?
No. Well,
not an Onion headline. This is a real headline. Area woman exploring use of Google Glass.
And how it'll affect your weekend after this.
Well, ESPN took it down to practice one of the NFL teams. I don't remember what team.
That's some actually neat stuff. Watching them catch a ball is pretty cool.
Yeah, watching them catch a ball is pretty cool. Yeah.
South Bend Tribune. Area woman has glass. We have a whole glass section on our rundown here.
We have a huge section. We have the NFL players with glass. We have Larry Page wearing it at a wedding.
Oh, don't let somebody. Is it his wedding? No.
No.
He was a groomsman, though.
Wedding.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's the story? Are we going to see a bunch of pictures on his Google Plus of his brother's wedding?
We showed you see him doing the more subtle. We don't see Larry Page going, "Okay, glass." We see him doing that.
Always wearing. Now, apparently, Google has patented glass, a way of melding glass with prescription lenses, which is good news for people like me. Most of these are pictures of Larry's attractive wife, it seems.
Oh, yeah, she is attractive.
Yeah. Where is the story?
I don't know what her
Where are the
career
pictures?
is.
Right, the pictures that he took.
Yeah.
I don't know if he actually shared them.
Yeah. God, I don't know. I guess I would if it were my wedding, I would welcome somebody wearing glass because he's documenting the wedding, right? Mm-hmm. We gave when I got married 20 years ago, we gave this is how long ago it was, disposable Instamatics to everybody. They were at every table. So take pictures and then leave them on the table, and we'll get them developed. This is kind of like that.
Yeah.
It was in Croatia.
Nice place, I hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice beaches and things.
Yes. Okay, so NFL glass.
That one's pretty cool, yeah.
So are these people who lent their glass to players?
Yeah, ESPN reporter put them on the players.
Oh, he had them. Okay.
She put them on.
She.
Yes, so they had him on the quarterback.
Ooh, that's kind of cool. Now, I'm thinking she had to start the recording for him.
No, so he's about to throw the ball.
Wow, that's cool.
That's what I wait till he catches. The catching is even better.
You see this stuff on.
There we go. Boom.
You see this stuff on NFL coverage anyway because they have helmet cams and stuff. In fact, it's
and that's what the coach was saying. You really could see the helmet, every helmet being equipped with this kind of thing, and for viewers to be able to watch the game from any player's given perspective.
Right.
I don't know if I'd want that though. It's a little like, little Blair Witch.
Well, yeah, because when the networks use it, it's a special thing. You see it all the time in race cars. They'll have special, cameras in their race cars. The first person there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing new. Turning left. I'm turning left now. I'm going to turn left some more. There's nothing new to the idea of first person.
No, not at all.
Glass just maybe makes it easier. Easy enough for an NFL player to use.
Almost.
So Jeff demoed a glass at the Guardian Activate. That's where some of those pictures came from.
Mm-hmm.
You have that was where you interviewed Vint Cerf.
Vint, the wonderful Vint. They just put the video up this morning.
Yay! I want to watch it.
Vint is amazing.
Yeah, we talked about the fact that you did it yesterday or last week,
time,
but
yeah.
So
yesterday.
Gosh, we should just not do the show and play the interview.
20 minutes. Yeah, it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the demo one.
Okay, highlights. Anything? You're not wearing glass during the interview.
10 seconds. Okay,
No.
I want you to do things in lively. All right, come on.
Wait a minute, I have audio from.
Hey, you're on Google Glass. Big deal. Okay.
Wait a minute, where is that? Oh, that's you. Okay.
This if I click on it, but I won't.
Oh, so you're using the screencasting. Nice.
Okay, now by the way,
And you said they very kindly edited out the.
It took me like 20 times because the way to turn the screencast on is you've got to photograph the barcode on the phone with the glass.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And trying to get it in the right spot is nearly impossible because you can't preview the photo. And so I was on stage saying, fuck.
This is a good first impression.
When they put a GoPro quality camera on this thing, then maybe I'll be impressed.
Yeah. But then in my feed, it takes a while for the photos to come up. So then 3 days later, I'll see 20 pictures of half a QR code.
That's pretty funny. We've had so many great guests on This Week in Google, and many regulars like Matt Cutts and Kevin Marks. But I have to say, for me and Jeff, I think, having Bruce Schneier on talking about the NSA was a real highlight. Bruce is one of the great gurus of security, and Schneier Security, what is it? Schneier on Security is just an incredible blog. We asked Bruce to talk about the NSA. This was when the story was first breaking. Take a look. So, Jeff, you have booked somebody I've been trying to get on Twit for 7 or 8 years now, one of the premier guys in security. Frankly, if Bruce Schneier says it, I believe it. He, among other claims to fame, you helped Neil Gaiman, Neil Stephenson with the crypto in Cryptonomicon, right? His card deck crypto.
Yeah, I built a playing card cipher that he used in the plot, and the neat thing was I got to write an afterword in the book.
Which I love.
And the extra neat thing is I got to accompany him on some book signings and learn that cypherpunk writers get way better groupies than photographers ever do.
Bruce, it is such an honor to talk to you. Really, you are a legend in the business, and especially now more than ever.
Now more than ever.
We need Bruce Schneier. SCHNEIER.com. If you want to read his blog, Schneier on Security. There is really nobody who is more trenchant or accurate, entertaining even, on the subject. So, Jeff, since you were the guy who got us this great booking, I'll let you take the lead on this one.
So much. We have so little time. We have Bruce to the top of the hour. But start here, Bruce. You wrote a great piece for The Atlantic and about a topic that I was trying to tackle too, but you frankly did it far better than I did, is the fear that the NSA is commandeering the net. I was thinking about it in terms of what they're doing maybe to individual companies where there are people with security clearance and their bosses don't have it. They don't know what they're doing inside the company. And I couldn't figure out how to express that. And you just came up with a very clear view that they're just plain commandeering the internet. And then you're also arguing that what technology companies, it's time for them to fight back. Why don't you talk about that for a second?
You know, it's really part of this very broad trend of surveillance being everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, surveillance is the business model of the internet. I mean, that's how Google makes its money. It surveils us and then serves us personalized ads. That's how Facebook makes its money. That's how everyone's making their money, by mining us for our data and then buying, selling, and using it. And it turns out that the government wants access to it too. Right? And stuff they can't get for legal reasons or technical reasons, they're learning to get from these corporations. Either they're asking nicely, right? We've seen example after example of companies willingly subverting their security or willingly handing the NSA copies of everything. They'll do it through national security letters. They'll force companies to do it. CALEA is something that's going through Congress, where the FBI has gotten phone companies to make their networks eavesdropping ready. So, I mean, I think of this as a public-private surveillance partnership. So, yes, the NSA is commandeering the internet for its own purposes, but also, you know, companies are surveilling us for their own purposes and using law to protect them. So it kind of goes both ways, unfortunately.
Bruce, I've always been much more worried, though, about a government surveilling us than about private corporations trying to sell us. Doesn't that seem a little bit more nefarious?
Well, I mean, sell us is just the beginning of it. It's being used to deny people loans, to deny people banking privileges.
Redlining, digital redlining.
Well, redlining, not just even denying people access to banking. There's an article recently about people judged by computer algorithms and being denied bank accounts. So now they're forced to use these more expensive unbanks and check cashing services. You know, these corporations are not just selling us consumer products. They're very much controlling our lives. If you can't get a cell phone, you can't live the same life. You can't get a credit card. So, you know, looking at corporate power, it's different than government power, but corporate power is pretty darn extreme. And,
Bruce,
you know,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, I just really see both types of power working together. And sort of there's this weird libertarian fantasy that if the government does something, it's bad, and then if a corporation does it, it magically becomes good. I usually tend to look at the thing and not, you know, who writes the paycheck of the people in power that are doing it.
Yeah, I'm more
But there's
afraid
also
of
a
guns though
context.
than I am of redlining. But I'll acknowledge that both are problems. How do you
Witness
fight
in
it?
Egypt right now, the rock paper scissors in Egypt is the army always wins over the internet.
Right.
Yeah. Let me continue on with Leo's question, Bruce. That when I talked to Vince Cerf about this at Guardian Activate in London, someone asked him whether the solution to this is technological or institutional. That is to say, laws and policy and principles. How far does the technological solution take us here, and what are its limitations, and how do we solve it institutionally?
So I don't think that technology takes us very far at all. And so here's a great example. I'm asked an email all the time. I want to use a secure email service. Who should I use? And the truth is, I don't know, right? I don't know what companies have been subverted by the government, what claims are true, what claims are lying. Last week, we saw 2 small secure email services, LavaBit and
Silent Circle.
Silent Circle.
Phil
shut
Zimmerman's
themselves
company.
down, right? They shut themselves down. One after they received national security letters, one before, right? So these independents are going away. What's left of the big corporations that really have no choice but to cooperate. So, the technology only takes you so far, but you can't trust the technology because you can't trust anybody's claims. I mean, these are very much political problems, and the solutions are going to be political. Now, once we have the correct politics in place, there's a lot technology can do because there are a lot of tech problems, but they are subservient to the political problems. I mean, right now—
Which goes to your point of trying to get the tech companies to fight now, that if they want to prove whose side they're on, are they on our side, or are they collaborators with the government, or are they victims of its overreach?
But isn't it a
It's time
meaningless
for them to
question?
stand
I mean, I think Bruce is probably right. They are collaborators, but even if they weren't, they don't have NSL. And I know Matt Cutts works at Google, so he's gonna chime in there. But even if they weren't, I think it's moot, because even if they weren't, the law requires them to participate, and because they're public companies, they can't do as LavaBit and Silent Circle did, shut down. They have to keep operating.
They have to cooperate.
They
but
have to cooperate.
Well, they don't
just
have
as
to
they had to
willingly.
cooperate in China.
Right. They don't have to cooperate willingly. They don't have to do more than the law allows, and they don't have to go silently. So both Yahoo and Google have been great at fighting back, and they mostly lose. Right. Sometimes we win. Brewster Kahle, the Internet Archive, fought a national security letter and won. And his story was in the New Yorker, I think, earlier this year. And our sort of only way to beat this back is to fight back. And even if you lose, you're going to lose on the narrowness of the letter. You're not going to cooperate more. There's a lot of articles now of companies that are cooperating because they're afraid if they get the letter, it'll be more annoying and more expensive. And it turns out not to be true. You fight. You keep the moral high ground. When this is all exposed, like what happened to Yahoo, what's happened to Google, we're all thinking, well, these companies are fighting for us. So even if they lose, I'm going to trust them more than I will a company that isn't fighting.
I also concerned that we don't know what's going on because of the silence requirements of many NSL. It may be much more than we even know, and they can't.
And it probably is. A lot of these silence requirements are being fought, and sometimes successfully. That the national security letter doesn't go away, but the gag order does.
I look at LavaBit's founder, who apparently got something, but is so constrained about what he can talk about. He has to sit there with a lawyer next to him saying, no, whispering back and forth. What can you say? What can't you say? He risks prison by saying anything.
That's right.
But the companies
will change.
And they can stand up and say what ought to be. If they get away from the specifics of the cases against them, the companies need to stand up on the basis of principle and say, this is what we'll fight. This is what we'll stand up for you. You can be assured that we will do this or that. Because if they don't even say that, right now they're being silent. The companies are not coming out and saying much of anything, and that doesn't lead to trust. Plus, we, the users, have to give them cover. We have to demand that they fight so they can say to the government, hey, man, we're caught in the middle here.
Bruce's most recent book was about trust. It couldn't have been more timely. It came out last year, but you couldn't be more timely. I don't know if we can trust anybody at this point. And, when you see, for instance, the FISA court itself 2 years ago trying to put out a report saying that the government is overreaching, and then that being quashed by the Department of Justice. it is all being suppressed at this point, as much as the government can.
There is, and it really amazes me that the NSA had no contingency plans for our secret programs get on the front page of the newspaper. I mean, you'd think with the major budget and security mindset, they'd have some plan B. I mean, here it is, a couple of months after General Alexander was at Black Hat, and like the best he could do was explain how the FISA court works, talk about this Iranian cab driver who sent $5,000 back home. I mean, this is his defense. It just amazes me how flat-footed they were caught, and how even now they're just making it up as they go along, hoping for the best. I mean, they have to believe that these thousands of documents are going to become public, all of them, sometime soon.
Right.
I mean, it's just not going to stay undercover much longer.
So, could I take a little bit of the worry that we're painting with a little bit of a broad brush?
Matt Cutts from Google. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and I don't know whether my video can come through or not. If my video does come through, I'm actually holding up a copy of Bruce's book. So
Liars and Outliers. Good. You're reading it. That's excellent.
This one's actually
oh, the other one, Sharon Security, which is the classic. Yeah, I have that too.
So I am a fan. So I very much enjoy and agree with
that's
Bruce,
a must-have
about security theater. But I do think we don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, like talking about collaborators and talking about private-public partnership on some of this stuff, because from a lot of the coverage you get the sense that a lot of this is more like a shotgun wedding where companies are compelled to. And I think you can look at the history of companies and get a sense for which ones are fighting for you versus which ones are like, hey, please give us a government request so we can hand over all the phone calling records of various Americans. So, for example, Google was one of the first to really double down on encryption, both of Gmail and on search. Whenever we got a 2005 Department of Justice subpoena that wanted to turn over 2 months of users' queries for a lawsuit related to pornography, we fought that and we won, and 33 other companies didn't fight that. We've been very big on two-factor authentication. There's an article in Wired that talks about a little device that lets you do two-factor authentication a little bit better. So, I think to say that all these companies are just falling over themselves on this topic to help out the government is not a correct characterization. I think a lot of engineers in Silicon Valley are thinking about different ways that they can try to protect users' rights and protect security and privacy as best they can. It was really wild to watch the events around LavaBit, and I think hopefully that will give a lot of people in the government pause and make them think a little bit about just what they're doing. They're really removing a lot of trust in the internet and in the cloud.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
but
the problem.
CDT just came out with a blog post, and they've been fighting the extension to CALEA. CALEA is the law that required phone companies to make their phone switches eavesdropping friendly, and the FBI's been trying to extend that law to the things like Gmail, and it's being fought. The law hasn't passed, but CDT is pointing out that these attacks against the smaller companies that are really forcing them to close or collaborate, the inability for the larger companies to close, so they have to basically hand over NSA data and then lie to their customers about it, is effectively getting this CALEA extension passed without the trouble of going through Congress.
Oish.
That effectively, all we have left are the large companies. Right, and it's sort of impossible. You can't imagine Mark Zuckerberg saying, well, we're just not going to comply. We're going to shut Facebook down. That's what we have to do. Right? He can't do that. It's a large public company. He'd be fired. They'd find a less moral CEO.
and they'd keep going.
Right,
Yeah.
and it would continue.
Yeah.
So, we're now entering a world where you only have the big companies that collaborate, and they're forced to, and some fight and some don't, and maybe we win around the edges, but largely we lose. And no small companies left, and that scares me.
Let me ask you another question, though, since you're the technologist here. In my field, in journalism, we yammer on a lot about professional ethics, and I have threatened to quit jobs over matters of ethics, and I know lots of people who have. And I know that Jonathan Zolotarov, right? No, Jonathan Zunger, the architect of Google Plus. Wrote a great post saying, listen, the thing you have to trust here is that if this stuff were going on and I knew about it, I'd leave the company.
Right.
How much discussion is there among technologists? Is there enough, do you think, about the ethics of a technologist And how much can we trust those individuals? Is that where the wellspring of reaction is going to come up, is saying, no, I refuse to do that, or I have to quit, or whatever? Where does it get down to the individual, or the individual within the company who has security clearance who's treated differently from everybody else?
Well, thank goodness for the Edward Snowdens and the Ladar Levisons of LavaBit of the world, who have put their life on the line.
Is there discussion of these ethical principles among developers, technologists, security people, and so on?
Yeah, certainly within Google, I think it's safe to say this is hotly debated, and every week we have weekly discussions where we can ask, Larry and Sergey questions, and it's entirely safe to say that even though we might not say that much externally because, there's discipline about external communications, you can believe any hot topic outside of Google gets a firestorm of debate inside of Google. And so that's an entirely safe assumption. I assume that happens at a lot of companies as well.
So the president gave a press conference last Friday, and he did a couple of things which I applaud him for. One is acknowledged while our national law enforcement agencies are patriots and trying to protect our country, he also said, and I hope he believes this, that those who are fighting for privacy are also patriots and fighting for very fundamental constitutional tenets in this country. He also said, and I thought this was really telling, we have an unprecedented ability to gather this information. And, I think perhaps what happened is that unprecedented ability to gather the information snuck up on us, and we got this ability. And, of course, somebody whose job is to protect the country is going to embrace anything. And the problem is the controls and the oversight have not been there, have not kept up. Is it enough to say to Congress, let's get this under control?
Well, I mean, you can say it. It has to get done. So Obama.
Well, what else should we do?
I mean, I agree that's probably the mechanism, or at least one of the mechanisms. Other mechanisms, there are court cases going through. Obama said he'd do 4 things. And of course the proof is in the pudding. Talked about reforming Section 215 of the Patriot Act. That's the section that has to deal with national security letters. So what does that mean? We don't know. To increase transparency of the FISA court. I mean, it's a good idea, but the devil's in the details. The third is to make more information public, as can be made public. Again, good idea. And fourth is to appoint some kind of independent review board, which is either a good idea or a way to make the problem go away, right, and put in a document. I mean, so these are 4 generalizations. The details matter. I mean, yes, Congress could do a lot, right? We saw a few weeks ago the House tried to unfund one particular NSA surveillance program, the one that collects phone metadata of every American. That failed, but failed very narrowly. There are things the courts could do. EFF, ACLU, EPIC are all filing lawsuits trying to challenge the constitutionality of this aspect, of that aspect. Those are ways. There's a lot of public pressure now. I mean, congressmen are feeling this. The president is feeling this. And views are changing. Even some of the congressmen and senators who are pretty much on the side of security at all costs and don't really care about this are starting to change. So I mean, there's a lot we can do. You have to just push on all fronts.
Yeah. Is it enough, or are those 4 things enough, or presuming they're done properly, or is there more that you would like?
I think fundamentally our privacy laws are outdated. I mean, it's what you said. Technology continues to advance. The FBI, the NSA are continually grabbing this new technology because it's a gray area and not really covered under the law. They assume the most broad, expansive powers they can think of. And because the law was written in the 80s, or sometimes then even the early 90s.
The 1880s.
It's not that bad, but it's still pretty bad. It's still pre-internet.
Yeah.
So we really need the entire body of laws to catch up to technology. And if we're really good to write them technologically invariant, so we don't go through the same problem again in 20 years.
Yeah, that's where I'll disagree a little bit, Bruce. I think what we have to do is write the laws at a level of principle where, then I agree, they're invariant to the technology. The principle is that you don't suck up all the communication that occurs. Or here's a better example. Our first class letters, right, and packages only are secured so that they can't be opened without a warrant, right? The metadata can be taken, but the package cannot be opened. Anything else can be opened. Our email does not have that security. Our private chats, of course, don't have that security. Well, the principle at work here should be that private communication is private and is secure unless with a lawful warrant. That should be the principle that should exist against any technology, whether that's a letter or a phone call or a chat or an email. So what we have to do is actually, I think, raise this discussion high to the level of principle so that we can then know what's being protected as citizens. And then the problem now is that, in a way, you don't blame the spies say, in the words of Alexander, gather it all. The more they can gather, they think that's their job. They're going to go as far as they can. And if the law is too specific to the technology and doesn't catch up, they're going to walk through that loophole. Whereas if the principle is set up that says you cannot listen to or in any way spy on private communication at an individual level until you have a warrant, that to me is pretty darn clear.
That's right. And it's resistant to whatever the next thing is. Our problems have been, we had this with videotape rentals versus DVDs versus streaming video. We'll have it letters versus email, phone calls versus Skype calls. So, if you write the laws to the technology changes and your laws no longer apply or no longer work well. And if we
have to update the laws to the idea that technology is going to constantly change.
Right. But this stuff is hard. Fundamentally, it's very hard for members of Congress, and I applaud the ones who managed to do it, to say to law enforcement, no, you can't have this. No, we're going to stand up for what's right, and we're not going to give you what you want. It's very easy to succumb to fear. I feel their pain. I have sympathy, even though I don't want them to do it.
Yeah. And, I think the judiciary also is going to be a big part of this, interpreting the laws to support the Fourth Amendment. Is going to be a big part of it. Bruce, we have a promise to let you go at this time, and I thank you so much for being here. Bruce,
all right, let's have me back, but I can stay longer.
I would love to have you back. Liars and Outliers is the latest book, Enabling the Trust That Society Needs to Thrive. Schneier.com is the website. Really a hero of mine, Bruce, so thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
Take care. Actually, Danny told us just as we were starting the show, breaking news, Yahoo for the first time in 5 years, number one on the net. Is that right?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So they've
crazy.
Every year ComScore comes out when they say these are the top sites or the top networks in the United States, and every year the list is always the same. There's hardly ever any changes that kind of go on with it. But this month it came out, and that turns out in July that Yahoo popped above Google to be the #1 site network in the United States, and it's the first time since at least early 2008 since they've been there.
God, that's amazing.
196 million unique users to Google's 192 million unique users, and that's not even counting Tumblr. ComScore hasn't integrated all the Tumblr numbers, so those are separate. And if you put those in there as well, then that would take Yahoo up to like about 235,000 users. Big gap between them and Google at that point. So
it's always been back and forth, though. Yahoo, Google, hasn't it? I mean, Yahoo's not like coming up from number 12.
They've been like number 2 for a really long time. So it's not like.
And the other truth is, people don't go to Google for Google. Google doesn't emphasize having Google.com as a major site.
True.
Yeah, it has maps and has other things. Yahoo has been a content site, a destination site since the beginning, a portal. A portal turned destination.
They're about content, aren't they? I mean, really.
Yes.
So, but does that include mail? So would Gmail be a Google site? Would Yahoo Mail be?
That should include any Google property and any Yahoo property.
Okay.
It doesn't matter that it's on Google.com versus YouTube. Like YouTube isn't broken out from the Google numbers. YouTube is included in it. But
that's content.
Wow. You watch.
Yeah.
In like a day or two, Google will probably say, well, if you factored in this thing over here, that thing over there, and so it'll be interesting to see, because Google really doesn't like.
What about mobile, Danny? What emphasis? With people supposedly mobiles, everything I'm seeing with the sites I work with, mobile's going nuts in the numbers. Is Yahoo doing anything in particular? They have a new weather app everybody was talking about, but is mobile a factor in this?
I don't know. In fact, we're still trying to figure out what it is that might have popped it up. And the first thought was, well, maybe this is all the Tumblr numbers that have come in. But like I said, Tumblr's broken out on its own. So the gap has always been very close, but something happened that maybe moved Yahoo up. And it may be also that, what happens in the summer is that you get the people who aren't searching on Google as much. The students go back to school or are out of school and everything. So it could be that they were so close and Yahoo's had just enough of a gain that Google's just enough of a drop might have had an impact. So, yeah.
Good on Marissa Mayer. That's huge.
I'm sure there'll be some celebrations over at Yahoo.
You bet. And she looks damn fine in a gown.
Yeah.
Can you believe all the attention? Let me ask Gina. She's a woman.
Oh boy!
Can you believe
Here we
all the
go.
attention? I feel, I feel kind of bad. So Vogue did an article on Marissa Mayer. It's Vogue. Marissa Mayer's always loved fashion. We know that. That doesn't make her less of a brilliant person or an engineer or a CEO. They did I think, a great-looking picture of her in a designer dress with fabulous heels, upside down. And people say, oh, it overshadows the story. And I don't think so. Can't we live in a world where somebody can be interested in fashion and still be brilliant?
Yes.
Yes.
We can. I do think that too much is made of her looks, but it's kind of like it's a unicorn thing. It's like you're just not used to seeing young female CEOs like in the position that she's in. And look, I think Meyer has a lot of control and a lot of say in the way that she's presented in the media.
Yes.
And I think that she accepts these interviews and photo shoots and does so full well knowing what they're going to turn out to be. And I think that she probably
She thought it was a good idea.
She thought it was a good idea. I wouldn't be surprised if she had final say on what what photographs they finally publish. And I feel like if she's comfortable with that presentation, then that's cool. But I do think that a lot is made of her appearance. But I think it's human nature to react to something that looks different. It is kind of like the unicorn principle.
And I think if you read the article, what is very impressive, and by the way, look at the other pictures. What is very impressive is that she held her own in a boys' club. Actually, this is CEOs Go Wild. This is the wrong slideshow. although, did they make a lot about Richard Branson dressed in drag as a stewardess? I don't know. Was that a big story?
Yeah.
Larry Ellison drinking the largest bottle of champagne I've ever seen.
Well, it's interesting. I read the Vogue article on Friday. And the link I had.
Sorry, Danny. That's not a phrase I ever thought I'd hear on this show. Danny Sullivan says, "I read the Vogue article." I know you buy it for the articles, yes.
But it's funny because I read so much on the internet. I don't tend to think of it this publication, that public. I know Vogue and everything, right? But I clicked on the link and I read the article, and it was only the article. There was no pictures or anything. So I actually had this weird experience where I went in, I read the article critically. That's it, right? So I read the article critically, and I'm actually going through the article. Is that right there? What do I think about this? What about that? And I thought overall it was a good piece or whatever. I didn't see the couch thing at all until yesterday, which, by the way, I recreated on Twitter myself because I have that couch.
Oh, wow.
Not exactly, but I have a couch with that kind of thing. So it's a few tweets back I did yesterday, and that is a really hard pose to hold.
So somebody took Rupert Murdoch.
I don't know how she did it because,
Danny, they have trained professional photographers, lighting technicians, makeup artists. You can't duplicate that at home.
And that's it. And let me tell you, my wife's like, no, you got to hold the iPad this way. And I'm like, oh. So, first of all, I thought it was a great picture, and it went with a great article. And, who cares what you want to pose it or whatever.
Okay. So who said this? Danny Sullivan and Marissa Mayer. I really like even numbers, and I like heavily divisible numbers. 12 is my lucky number. I just love how divisible it is. I don't like odd numbers, and I really don't like primes. When I turned 37, I put on a strong face, but I was not looking forward to 37. But 37 turned out to be a pretty amazing year, especially considering that 36 is divisible by 12.
Wow.
That's the lead in the Vogue piece.
Wow.
She may have regretted that particular quote.
She's not regretting anything today, man.
Je ne regrette rien. She is Coco Chanel for a day. No, I bet you it's intentional that Marissa Mayer is saying, just as she had her baby and took the job at CEO, that you can have everything and that women shouldn't be kept out of the boardroom or out of the fashion week. You can have it all. And I'm wearing heels from now on.
I don't know if you saw it. Representations of women in leadership positions. I think that there are, women who play it kind of like one of the guys, and I think there are women who are like being sort of conventional, like have conventional female interests, fashion, whatever. I think it's great that she is, that she's being who she is, and that she's one representation of one way that you can be a woman in a leadership position.
Exactly.
So, I'm not into fashion, but rock on. Marissa, that's what I say.
It's I think postmodern feminism. I hope.
And I think role models for women in both technology and corporate leadership is important. And however what the story we quoted about a month ago of the woman who's high up in Google who dressed like a geek until she finally decided enough, right?
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
And I salute that, right? You can be yourself. You can be in technology, you can be in leadership, and you can also be yourself, whatever that is.
And I just want everyone to know I don't like sports. I don't drink beer. And I don't like cars. So there.
Because you're a queen. We established
I would love some blue suede pumps. Let's take a look. Anyway, congratulations. I think you could pretty clearly point to Marissa Mayer and say that the strategy is working at Yahoo with these numbers. I really think so.
Those numbers are incredible.
Yeah.
It's a little hard for me to believe. I just don't spend a lot of time at Yahoo, but I don't think that, and I don't think any of us do, but I don't think that we're representative of
real people do. Yes. Real people do. Yep.
I use Flickr. I log into Flickr pretty often, so I'm one of those numbers.
Yep. It's good.
All right. Well, that's fair.
Another great regular on the show, Danny Sullivan from SearchEngineLand.com. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our little look back. We had some fun, didn't we, in 2013? I look forward to having a great 2014 with Jeff, Gina, and you. If you enjoy our show, are we going to be on the same time as before, starting in the new year? Twig is not moving, right? All right. Chad Johnson tells me it will still be Wednesday afternoons, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 2100 UTC. Every Wednesday. Please stop by and watch live. If you can't, though, we have on-demand audio and video always after the fact at our website, twit.tv/twig. Have a very, very Merry Festivus, and I will see you back here next year. Take care.